The morning sun cast a warm glow over the United Nations headquarters in New York, where a significant gathering was underway. Inside the Grand Assembly Hall, leaders from Earth and Alara's homeworld were seated at a large oval table, finalizing what would be a historic alliance. At the head of the table, Captain Eric Nolan and Princess Alara reviewed the documents before them, ensuring every detail was accounted for. "Are we ready to proceed?" Eric asked, glancing around the table at the expectant faces. Alara nodded. "Yes, I believe everything is in order. This alliance will mark a new era for our worlds." The UN Secretary-General stood, addressing the assembly. "Let us begin by formally signing the Joint Defense Pact, solidifying the commitment between Earth and Princess Alara's planet to mutual protection and peace." As the representatives signed the documents, cameras flashed, capturing the momentous occasion. After the signing, Eric and Alara shook hands, their gesture symbolizing the unity between their peoples. Once the formalities concluded, the assembly broke into smaller groups to discuss various cooperative initiatives, ranging from technology sharing to cultural exchanges. Eric found himself in a spirited discussion with a group of human and alien scientists about the potential benefits of shared research. "So, what do you think the biggest challenge will be in integrating our scientific methodologies?" one of the human scientists asked. Eric pondered the question. "Beyond the technical challenges, I think ensuring open communication and mutual respect for our different approaches will be crucial. We can learn a lot from each other if we maintain an open dialogue." Alara joined the conversation, her enthusiasm evident. "Exactly. And we're particularly excited about Earth's advancements in renewable energy technologies. There's much to be gained on both sides from this partnership." As the meetings continued, Eric received a discreet message on his communicator. He excused himself and stepped outside into the crisp air of the courtyard, where he opened the communication. It was an urgent alert from the Space Monitoring Agency. "Captain Nolan," the voice on the other end spoke quickly, "we've detected a distress signal from a neighboring planet in Alara's system. It appears they're facing a severe natural disaster." Eric's expression hardened with concern. "Understood. I'll coordinate with Princess Alara and prepare a response team. Keep me updated on any changes." Returning inside, Eric pulled Alara aside, informing her of the situation. Her face grew tense with worry. "We must help them, Eric. This could be a first test of our new alliance," she said. "Agreed. I'll assemble a team from our newly formed joint task force. We'll be ready to leave within the hour," Eric assured her, his tone resolute. The rapid need for action underscored the importance of their alliance. As preparations for the mission commenced, Eric and Alara worked side by side, coordinating the deployment of aid and personnel to the distressed planet. This quick mobilization not only tested the strength of their alliance, but also set a precedent for how swiftly and effectively the two worlds could collaborate in times of crisis. As the ships prepared to launch, Eric and Alara observed from the command center, aware that the eyes of both their worlds were on them, hopeful and watchful. The success of this mission would do more than save lives. It would cement the foundation of trust and cooperation that their future interactions would build upon. The command center aboard the interstellar vessel Unity buzzed with activity as Captain Eric Nolan and Princess Alara oversaw final preparations for their mission to the distressed planet. The crew, a blend of human and alien specialists, worked diligently to ensure all systems were operational. "Fuel cells at full capacity, life support systems green across the board, and all medical supplies are stocked," reported Lieutenant Mara, the ship's operations officer. Her efficiency brought a nod of approval from Eric. "Thank you, Lieutenant. Keep me posted on any anomalies," Eric replied, turning his attention to the holographic star map floating above the console. He pointed to their destination. "Our route will take us through the Lessic Corridor, known for its asteroid clusters. It's the fastest path, but not without risks." Princess Alara, dressed in her mission gear, joined Eric by the map. "The Lessic Corridor? I've heard it's haunted by pirate fleets." Eric chuckled lightly. "More legend than fact these days, but we'll keep our sensors peeled. I'd rather not have any unexpected encounters." As they strategized, Dr. Sia, the team's lead xenobiologist, approached them with a digital tablet in hand. "Captain Princess, I've compiled the environmental data on the planet. The seismic activity is off the charts. It's not just storms they're dealing with, but possible volcanic eruptions." Alara's brow furrowed with concern. "That complicates our relief efforts. We'll need to adapt our approach on the fly." "Agreed," said Eric. "Dr. Sia, coordinate with engineering. I want modular shelters ready to deploy the moment we land. They need to withstand severe conditions." Right away, Captain, Dr. Sia affirmed, hurrying off to her next task. The ship's intercom crackled to life as the pilot announced, "Approaching the Lessic corridor. All hands. Brace for possible turbulence." As Unity entered the corridor, the lights dimmed briefly, and the vessel shuddered under the strain of gravitational forces from the dense asteroid field. The crew members steadied themselves, their eyes glued to their instruments. "Shields holding, but this field is denser than anticipated," the pilot reported, his voice calm yet focused. "Keep us on the best available path," Eric responded, gripping the console. "Mara, deploy drones ahead to clear a safer route." "Deploying now," Mara confirmed, executing the orders with precision. Amidst the turbulence, a sudden alarm sounded. "Incoming craft, bearing 279, shouted the sensor operator. "It's not responding to hails." "Battle stations!" Eric commanded, the tension in the room spiking. He turned to Alara. "Looks like those legends might have some truth to them after all." Alara nodded, her expression steely. "Let's show them that this legend has protectors." The crew readied themselves as the unidentified craft loomed closer. Eric's voice echoed through the ship. "Prepare for possible hostile engagement, but remember, our primary mission is to aid a planet in need. Let's handle this quickly." As the crew braced, Unity's defensive systems powered up, targeting the approaching craft. Whether pirates or another unforeseen challenge, Eric and Alara were determined to get through the corridor and deliver their much-needed aid, embodying the spirit of their new alliance with every decision they made. As the unidentified craft approached, the tension aboard the Unity escalated to palpable levels. Everyone braced for a confrontation, their eyes locked on the various displays. Captain Eric Nolan stood firm, his gaze intense, directing the defensive operations. "Shields up. Ready the plasma cannons. Do not fire unless directly provoked," Eric ordered, his voice commanding over the ship's intercom. Princess Alara stood beside him, watching the approaching vessel with a mixture of apprehension and resolve. "Could it be the pirates?" she asked, her voice steady despite the situation. "Possibly," Eric replied, monitoring the craft's trajectory. "Or someone who doesn't want us reaching that planet." Suddenly, the craft veered off, its engines flaring as it accelerated away from the Unity asterisk. The crew exhaled in unison, the immediate threat dissipating as quickly as it had appeared. "Looks like they thought better of it," said the pilot, a hint of relief in his tone. "Keep us on course and stay alert," Eric responded, not fully convinced the danger was over. "I want to know who that was and what they wanted." As the Unity continued its journey through the Lessic corridor, Eric convened a meeting with his senior officers and Princess Alara to discuss the encounter and reassess their mission security. "We've been lucky this time," Eric began, his eyes sweeping over the group. "But this incident shows we have potential enemies we may not even be aware of. It's clear this mission is about more than just delivering aid." Alara nodded in agreement. "We need to be prepared for further challenges. Our presence here isn't welcomed by all." The meeting was abruptly interrupted by an urgent message from Lieutenant Mara. "Captain, you need to see this," she said, her voice tense as she handed Eric a tablet displaying security footage. The video showed a member of the crew, someone from the engineering team, tampering with the ship's communication array. "We caught this just now. It's sabotage," Mara explained. Eric's jaw tightened as he recognized the engineer. "That's Jensen. He's been with us for years. Why would he do this?" "Determine if he's acting alone or if there are others," Eric directed Mara. He then turned to Alara. "This betrayal within our ranks is a serious breach. We need to contain this before it undermines the entire mission." Security detained the engineer, and a thorough interrogation revealed a shocking truth. Jensen had been coerced by a faction opposed to the alliance between Earth and Alara's world, fearing it would shift the power balance in the sector. "I didn't want to do it," Jensen confessed, visibly shaken. "They have my family. They threatened to harm them if I didn't comply." Eric and Alara exchanged a look, the weight of the situation settling upon them. "We'll ensure your family's safety, Jensen. But you should have come to us," Eric said, his voice firm, yet not without sympathy. With the saboteur's confession, the atmosphere aboard the Unity asterisk grew even more strained. Trust had been eroded, and now more than ever, Eric and Alara had to demonstrate strong leadership to keep their mission, and their new alliance, from falling apart. "Let's tighten security protocols and keep everyone informed. We can't let internal threats divide us," Alara suggested, her leadership qualities shining through the crisis. As the Unity finally cleared the Lessig corridor and set course for the distressed planet, the crew worked to repair the damaged communications and reinforce their resolve. The journey ahead promised no respite, but together they were determined to face whatever challenges awaited, united in their mission to bring aid and foster peace. As the Unity approached the distressed planet, Captain Eric Nolan and Princess Alara prepared their team for the complex mission ahead. The planet's surface was a chaotic mosaic of warring factions, each battling for control over dwindling resources amidst worsening environmental disasters. Scans show multiple hotspots of conflict around the main settlement where we plan to distribute aid, Lieutenant Mara reported, highlighting areas on the tactical display. Landing there is too risky. Eric rubbed his chin thoughtfully. We'll need to find a safer entry point, perhaps one of the smaller settlements less involved in the conflict. Alara agreed, pointing to a location on the map. Here, near the eastern ridge. It's less populated and should allow us to establish a base without drawing too much attention. As the ship descended, the atmosphere was tense, each crew member keenly aware of the stakes. They were not just delivering aid, they were attempting to broker peace in a region that hadn't seen it in generations. The Unity landed smoothly in a secluded area, and the crew quickly began unloading supplies. Eric, Alara, and a small security team headed towards the nearest village to negotiate safe passage for their humanitarian efforts. Upon arrival, they were met with suspicion. The village leader, an aged man with a stern face, greeted them warily. "Why should we trust you? Your kind comes here, promising peace, but you only bring more war," he accused, his voice laced with bitterness. Alara stepped forward, her expression sincere. "We are not here to fight. We bring food, medicine, and engineers to help rebuild your homes. We only ask for your trust and cooperation." Eric added, "We can show you the supplies, all marked for civilian use. We have no hidden agenda." The village leader's eyes softened slightly, and after a long moment, he nodded. "I will consider your offer, but know this, the moment you betray our trust, you will no longer be welcome." Thankful for the opportunity, Eric and Alara returned to the site to coordinate the distribution. However, their relief was short-lived. That night, as they monitored the progress, an explosion rocked the northern perimeter of their camp. "Attack! We're under attack!" shouted a guard through the comm system. Eric and Alara rushed to the command tent where screens showed chaos unfolding. Shadowy figures moved through the darkness, their motives unclear. Eric grabbed his radio. "All units, defensive positions. Protect the supplies and civilians." The battle was intense and confusing. Eric and his team fought bravely, repelling the attackers with non-lethal force where possible, striving to avoid further escalation. Amidst the fray, Alara spotted a familiar insignia on one of the attackers' uniforms. It was the same faction that had pursued them in the Lessig corridor. "They followed us," she realized, her voice grim. This was a planned assault. As dawn broke, the attackers retreated, leaving behind injuries and destruction. The crew regrouped, treating the wounded and assessing the damage. Eric and Alara, though shaken, remained determined. "We need to strengthen our defenses and perhaps seek a dialogue with these attackers. Understanding their motives could help us prevent further violence," Eric suggested, his resolve hardened by the night's events. Alara nodded in agreement. "Let's also send a message back to Earth. We may need additional support if these attacks continue." The mission on the distressed planet had taken a perilous turn. Eric and Alara realized that achieving peace would require more than just good intentions. It would demand strategy, diplomacy, and perhaps facing the deeper conflicts that fueled the planet's unrest. The early morning light did little to lift the spirits at the Unity's makeshift base. After the nighttime assault, Captain Eric Nolan and Princess Alara were urgently reassessing their approach. With the attackers identified as being from the same faction that had pursued them in the Lessig corridor, it was clear that their mission was being targeted by a well-organized enemy. Eric convened an emergency meeting with his security team and key personnel. "We need to understand who these attackers are and what they want. It's more than just random piracy or opposition. There's a specific agenda against our mission," Princess Alara added, "and we need to ensure the safety of our team and the aid supplies. Let's tighten our security protocols and consider relocating to a more defensible position if necessary." As they formulated their plan, one of the security officers approached Eric with a recovered item from one of the attackers. It was a data device, potentially containing valuable information. "We found this on one of them. It might have something we can use." "Good work. Get this to our tech team immediately. See if they can extract any data from it," Eric instructed, handing over the device. Hours later, the tech team had a breakthrough. They managed to decrypt the data, revealing detailed plans of the attackers' operations. It included maps, supply lines, and most crucially, communication logs that mentioned a larger strategic plan involving other factions. "This is significant," Eric said, reviewing the data with Alara and his senior staff. "They're not just after us. They're planning something much larger that could destabilize the entire region." Alara looked over the communications. "It looks like they're gathering resources for a major offensive. We should warn the local governments and our allies. They need to be prepared." Eric nodded. "We'll do that. But first, we need to get out of here. This base is compromised. We'll relocate to the secondary site we scouted yesterday. It's better defended, and will give us more time to plan our next move." As the team began packing up the camp, Eric and Alara took a small group to investigate one of the locations mentioned in the data device. If they could understand the enemy's movements, they could better protect the civilians and their mission. The site was an abandoned industrial complex, seemingly used as a forward base by the attackers. Inside, they found evidence of recent activity: supplies, weapons, and more data that could provide further insight into the attackers' network. "Let's gather everything and bring it back for analysis," Alara suggested, checking the area for any more useful information. Just as they were about to leave, they heard the sound of engines, vehicles approaching fast. "We've got company," shouted one of Eric's team, peering out of a broken window. Eric looked around, assessing their options. "We can't get caught here. Everyone, back to the vehicles. We need to move fast." The escape was narrow. Enemy vehicles pursued them through the winding industrial roads. Using their superior knowledge of the terrain and some risky maneuvers, Eric's team managed to evade their pursuers and return to the Unity's new base location. Safely back at the base, with new data and a clearer picture of their adversaries, Eric and Alara prepared for the next phase of their mission. They were not just fighting to deliver aid now, they were involved in a much larger battle for the stability of the region. This realization galvanized them, reinforcing their resolve to see their mission through and help bring peace to the area. The early hours at the new base were a flurry of activity. With the Unity settled into a more defensible location, Captain Eric Nolan and Princess Alara focused on consolidating their resources and strengthening their position. The recent discoveries had highlighted the urgency of not just defending their mission, but taking proactive steps to undermine the enemy's larger strategy. "We've intercepted more communications," reported Lieutenant Mara during a strategy session. "It seems there's a convergence of enemy forces planned at the Garrix Basin, a strategic point near major water sources. They could cut off vital supplies to half the planet if they take control." Eric rubbed his chin thoughtfully. "We can't let that happen. If we disrupt their plan there, it could give us the leverage we need to negotiate a ceasefire." Alara nodded in agreement. "And it might show the other factions that this enemy is not invincible. We need to rally the local leaders. Their support will be crucial." The plan was set into motion quickly. Eric and Alara met with local leaders, sharing the intelligence they had gathered and outlining a joint operation to protect the Garrix Basin. The leaders, already wary of the growing power of the hostile faction, agreed to unite their forces under Eric and Alara's command for the operation. As the Allied forces gathered, Eric led a briefing session. "This isn't just about a strategic victory," he told the assembled troops. "It's about showing that peace is possible when we stand together. Let's keep our focus and fight not just for survival, but for a future where we can rebuild without fear." The combined Earth-alien forces moved towards Garrix Basin, coordinating their approach to catch the enemy off guard. Surveillance drones provided live feedback, allowing Eric to direct the forces strategically, avoiding enemy traps and fortifications. The battle began at dawn. The enemy, surprised by the coordinated assault and the unity of the disparate factions, faltered as Eric and Alara's forces pushed forward. Despite their technological superiority, the hostile factions' morale began to waver under the relentless and unified opposition. In the thick of battle, Alara took command of a unit on the eastern ridge, providing crucial cover for the ground troops moving into the basin. Her leadership inspired her troops, driving them forward against tough resistance. Meanwhile, Eric led a daring flank attack, using the rough terrain to his advantage. His group managed to breach the enemy's main command center, capturing key leaders and disrupting their communication networks. As the sun set over the Garrix Basin, the enemy's resistance crumbled. The basin remained secure, and the critical water sources were protected. The victory was celebrated not just as a military success, but as a symbol of unified strength against a common threat. In the aftermath, Eric and Alara organized a peace summit, inviting leaders from all factions to discuss a lasting truce. The summit, held at the now-secured Garrix Basin, was tense but hopeful. With the enemy leaders present as prisoners, their aggressive agenda was exposed, further uniting the other factions in their desire for peace. "We have seen too much destruction, too much loss," Alara addressed the summit. "Let this victory be the foundation of a new era, where we share our strengths rather than fight over our differences." The summit concluded with the signing of the Garrix Accords, a set of agreements focusing on shared governance of critical resources and a mutual defense pact against any future aggression by rogue factions. As peace took tentative roots, Eric and Alara looked out over the basin, now a symbol of what could be achieved. "Today we fought together," Eric said, his voice filled with emotion. "And tomorrow, we begin the hard work of building together." Their mission had evolved into something greater than either had anticipated. It wasn't just about delivering aid anymore. It was about forging a path to lasting peace. In the wake of the Garrix Accords, a tentative peace settled over the region. The basin, once a battleground, became a meeting ground for different factions, now invested in a collaborative future. Captain Eric Nolan and Princess Alara, regarded as architects of peace, turned their focus to reconstruction and reconciliation efforts. Rebuilding is more than just physical structures. It's about restoring trust and hope, Alara explained to the newly formed council, comprising leaders from various factions. They sat around a large holographic display showing the plans for new infrastructure that would benefit all. Eric, reviewing the security measures, added, "And let's ensure that the peace we fought for is safeguarded. We'll set up joint patrols, combining our forces to protect these projects and the people working on them." As the reconstruction began, Eric and Alara divided their time between the site and diplomatic missions to neighboring systems, spreading the word about the Accords and seeking wider support. Their efforts were fruitful, bringing more allies and resources into the fold, strengthening the peace initiative. However, peace was not without its challenges. Some remnants of the defeated faction, unwilling to accept the new order, attempted to undermine the reconstruction efforts. A series of sabotage incidents threatened the fragile stability. During one of the council meetings, an urgent report came in. "An explosion at the new water purification plant," reported Lieutenant Mara, her expression tense. "Preliminary evidence suggests sabotage." The room erupted in murmurs of concern and anger. Alara's face hardened with resolve. "This is a test of our commitment to the Accords. We cannot let these provocateurs derail our progress." Eric nodded, addressing the council. "We'll increase security, but we also need to address the root causes of this dissent. Let's consider amnesty for those willing to come forward and renounce violence, coupled with integration programs." The proposal was met with mixed reactions, but after intense discussions, the council agreed to give it a try. The new strategy was a gamble, but it showed the council's willingness to explore all avenues for peace. Meanwhile, Eric led a team to investigate the sabotage incidents, tracking down the culprits through a combination of intelligence gathering and fieldwork. His efforts led him to a hidden base where the saboteurs were manufacturing explosives. "We've located them, about 15 kilometers west of the plant," Eric briefed his team. "We'll coordinate with local security forces for a raid. Non-lethal engagement is our priority. We need them alive for information and to stand trial." The raid was executed with precision, resulting in the capture of the saboteurs and a significant cache of their equipment and data. Interrogations revealed that a radical leader, previously thought killed, was still orchestrating these attacks from hiding. Armed with this new information, Eric and Alara planned a targeted operation to capture the rogue leader, hoping it would deliver a crippling blow to the opposition. The operation was a success. The leader was captured without bloodshed and brought before the council, where he faced charges. His trial was broadcast throughout the region, serving as a testament to the rule of law and the seriousness of the council's commitment to peace. With the leader's capture and the sabotage ring dismantled, the region saw a significant decrease in violent incidents. Reconstruction projects progressed rapidly, and the people's confidence in the new order grew. As they watched the communities flourishing, Eric and Alara knew the road ahead was long, with many obstacles yet to overcome. But the successes of their peace-building efforts gave them hope that a lasting peace was within reach. The region was transforming, and they were at the heart of that change, committed to seeing it through to a hopeful, stable future. Months had passed since the successful implementation of the Garrix Accords, and the region had begun to thrive under the new peace initiatives. Infrastructure projects were nearing completion, and the local populations were starting to enjoy the benefits of stability and cooperation. Yet Captain Eric Nolan and Princess Alara knew that their work was far from over. The peace they had fought so hard to secure was still fragile, and external threats loomed large. In the command center of the newly established peacekeeping headquarters, Eric and Alara reviewed the latest security reports. Despite significant progress, there were increasing signs of unrest at the borders of their allied territories, suggesting a buildup of military forces by an unknown aggressor. Reports indicate that this isn't just a small skirmish force. We're looking at a well-organized army, possibly backed by one of the rogue galactic powers, Eric noted, his brow furrowed as he scanned the data. Alara, who had been coordinating diplomatic efforts to strengthen their alliances, added, "I've reached out to our neighboring systems for support. Many are willing to stand with us, but they'll need assurance that we're prepared to lead the defense if it comes to that." Recognizing the urgency of the situation, they convened an emergency meeting of the Allied Peace Council, a coalition of leaders from various planets and factions within the region. The council gathered in the Grand Hall, a symbol of the unity that had been forged from the chaos of the past. Eric addressed the council with a gravity that matched the occasion. "We've come together in the spirit of peace and prosperity, and together we've achieved what once seemed impossible. Now, our alliance faces a new threat, one that seeks to undo all that we've built." Alara stepped forward, her voice resolute. "This is a call to arms, not just in defense of our lands but of our way of life. We must show that our commitment to peace is matched by our strength in defending it." The council members, moved by the leader's impassioned pleas, pledged their support. Plans were quickly drawn up for a united defense strategy. Military resources were pooled, and a series of defensive fortifications were planned along the most vulnerable points of their shared borders. As preparations intensified, Eric took personal command of the Allied forces, overseeing the training and deployment of troops. Alara, meanwhile, worked tirelessly to secure further diplomatic support, ensuring that their military efforts were backed by a strong coalition. The day the enemy forces finally advanced, they were met with a formidable defense. The battle was fierce, with both sides suffering losses, but the unity and preparedness of Eric and Alara's allied forces gradually turned the tide in their favor. After days of intense fighting, the enemy was pushed back, their invasion thwarted. In the aftermath, as they surveyed the battlefield, Eric and Alara felt a profound sense of both relief and sorrow. The cost had been high, but the victory reaffirmed the strength of their alliance. In the peace that followed, the Allied Peace Council convened once more, this time to discuss the future. It was clear that their region needed more than just a military alliance. It required a comprehensive security framework to prevent future conflicts. "We've defended our homes," Eric told the council. "Now let's build something that lasts, an interstellar security pact that not only deters aggression, but promotes lasting peace through cooperation." The council agreed, and work began on what would be known as the Unity Charter, a series of agreements that would bind the member planets together in mutual defense and cooperation for generations to come. As they watched the signing of the Unity Charter, Eric and Alara knew that their journey had changed them forever. They had started as soldiers on a mission to deliver aid, but they had become leaders in a historic movement towards peace and unity. The future was uncertain, but together, they had laid the groundwork for a hopeful new era. The signing of the Unity Charter marked a pivotal moment for the Allied regions, establishing a solid framework for cooperation and mutual security. While the victory celebrations echoed through the streets of the capitals, Captain Eric Nolan and Princess Alara focused on the next critical phase of their mission: rebuilding and fortifying the peace they had so arduously fought for. In the wake of the recent conflict, the damage to infrastructure and the morale of the populace were evident. Addressing the council from the newly built Peace Hall, Alara outlined the immediate needs. "Our communities require more than repairs. They need hope and assurance that peace will last. We must invest in rebuilding not just buildings, but lives." Eric, who had taken a more active role in the strategic planning of the region's defenses, added, "Security is paramount, but it must be balanced with freedom and prosperity. We are tasked with safeguarding our people while fostering an environment where trade, culture, and ideas can flourish without fear." To implement their vision, Eric and Alara initiated several key projects. One of the most ambitious was the Interstellar Trade Network, a series of trade routes and agreements that connected their allied planets with other peaceful systems. This network aimed to boost economic growth and create interdependent relationships that would make the prospect of conflict less appealing. Meanwhile, cultural exchange programs were launched to deepen understanding and solidarity among the diverse populations of the Alliance. These programs included academic exchanges, art exhibitions, and collaborative technology ventures, highlighting the shared commitment to a united future. However, their efforts were not without challenges. Remnants of the defeated rogue factions still lingered, occasionally stirring trouble in an attempt to destabilize the fragile peace. Eric led the response to these threats with a mix of firm military action and a renewed push for amnesty programs, designed to reintegrate dissidents into society under watchful, compassionate terms. During one such operation, Eric and a peacekeeping team responded to a distress signal from a remote settlement where agitators were reportedly gathering. Arriving at the scene, Eric chose to negotiate rather than confront. "We offer you a chance to rejoin our community," he announced to the gathered crowd. "Lay down your arms and let's discuss your grievances. We are here to build, not to battle." His words, broadcasted throughout the region, resonated with many. Slowly, the agitators dispersed, with some coming forward to take up his offer. This approach, risky yet resonant with Eric's and Alara's overarching philosophy, proved effective, reducing incidents of violence over time. Back at the council, Alara reviewed reports of increasing stability and growth. "These reports show that our approach is working. People are beginning to trust in the peace we've promised," she shared with Eric, her eyes bright with cautious optimism. Eric nodded, feeling a mix of pride and responsibility. "Let's keep pushing forward. Our work is far from done, but every step we take builds stronger foundations for the future." As the year drew to a close, Eric and Alara attended a commemoration event for those lost in the recent battles. Standing before a memorial, they spoke of loss, resilience, and hope. The event, attended by thousands, was a poignant reminder of the costs of peace and the importance of their continued efforts. The chapter closed with Eric and Alara looking out over a cityscape lit by the evening lights, a tangible sign of progress. "The road is long," Eric mused, "but I believe the hardest battles are behind us." Alara nodded, her hand resting lightly on his arm. "And together, we'll walk the rest of this road, whatever it may bring." Under the clear skies of a rejuvenated capital, leaders from across the galaxy gathered for the first summit of the Unity Charter. This grand assembly, envisioned by Captain Eric Nolan and Princess Alara, was designed to solidify the bonds formed during recent tumults and to plan for a united future. The summit was a vivid tapestry of diverse beings, each representing their worlds with pride and newfound hope. As the summit commenced, Eric stood before the assembly, his presence commanding yet inclusive. "This gathering marks a significant milestone in our journey," he began, his voice resonant in the vast hall. "From the ashes of conflict, we have forged a path to peace. Today, we build on that foundation, not just for our generation, but for all who will come after us." Princess Alara took the podium after Eric, her demeanor calm and persuasive. "The Unity Charter is more than a treaty. It is a testament to what we can achieve when we stand together. Let this summit be a place where we tackle our greatest challenges and share our most innovative solutions." The agenda was ambitious, covering economic recovery, defense strategies, cultural exchanges, and environmental restoration. Breakout sessions led by experts encouraged open dialogues, fostering collaborations that transcended old boundaries. In one of the sessions, Eric facilitated a discussion on interstellar security. "Our shared defense is not about preparing for war, but ensuring peace," he explained. "Our networks, our patrols, and our drills are the threads that bind our peace pact." Meanwhile, Alara chaired a panel on sustainable development, focusing on technologies that could heal and preserve planetary ecosystems. "Sustainability is the cornerstone of peace," she asserted. "A starving planet breeds conflict, but a thriving one promotes harmony." As the summit progressed, it became clear that while many were eager to embrace this new era, some remained skeptical, holding on to old grievances and fears. Addressing these concerns, Eric and Alara organized a series of private meetings with hesitant leaders, listening to their fears and offering reassurances and support. "We understand your concerns," Alara said during one such meeting. "Change is daunting, and trust is hard-earned. But remember, We are not asking you to erase your past, merely to not let it dictate your future. The summit culminated in the signing of several key agreements, including a mutual aid pact and a declaration to expand the Unity Charter to include more regions. The signing ceremony was broadcast across galaxies, symbolizing a beacon of unity and hope. As the leaders placed their signatures on the documents, applause and cheers filled the hall, echoing the collective relief and optimism that permeated the summit. Cameras flashed, capturing a historic moment that promised a brighter future for all. In the quiet after the day's events, Eric and Alara walked through the gardens of the summit venue, reflecting on their journey. "We've come so far, Alara," Eric said, gazing at the stars beginning to twinkle in the evening sky. "Do you think we're ready for what's next?" Alara smiled, her gaze also upward. "With Unity as our guiding star, I believe we are more than ready. We are destined." As they looked on, the stars seemed to shine a little brighter, mirroring the potential of what their united worlds could achieve. This summit was not just an end to their struggles, but a beacon for their collective journey forward, guided by the principles of peace, collaboration, and mutual respect. The galaxy, once riven by discord, now looked towards a future where Unity promised a legacy of prosperity and peace.